38. Thank you, Prabhu. ता एवेदं ससर्जाग्रे भगवान आत्ममायया षड अषद्रूपय चासौ गुणमाया गुणो विभु. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Lois Prabhuji.
Translation. In the beginning of the material creation, that absolute personality of Godhead Vasudeva, in his transcendental position, created the energies of cause and effect by his own internal energy. The position of the Lord is always transcendental because the cause and effectual energies required for the creation of material world were also created by him. He is unaffected, therefore, by the qualities of the material modes. His existence, form, activities, and paraphernalia all existed before the material creation. He is all spiritual and has nothing to do with the qualities of material world, which are qualitatively distinct from the spiritual qualities of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
तया विलसितेषु येषु गुणेषु गुणवान् इव अन्तःप्रविष्ट आभाति विज्ञानेन विजृम्भितः. Hare Krishna, Sri Ganesh Prabhu. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ganesh Prabhu.
After creating the material substance, the Lord Vasudeva expands himself and enters into it. Although he is within the material modes of nature and appears to be one of the created beings, he is always fully enlightened in his transcendental position. The living entities are separated in parcels of the Lord. And the conditioned living entities who are unfit for the spiritual kingdom are strewn within the material world to enjoy matter to the fullest extent. As Paramatma, an eternal friend of living entities, the Lord, by one of his plenary portion, accompanies the living entity to guide them in their material enjoyment and to become witness to all activities. While the living entities enjoy the material conditions, the Lord maintains his transcendental position without being affected by the material atmosphere. In the Vedic literature, it is said that there are two birds in one tree. One of them is eating the fruit of the tree, while the other is witnessing the actions. The witnessing is the Lord, and the fruit eater is a living entity. The fruit eater has forgotten his real identity and is overwhelmed in the fruitive activities of the material conditions. But the Lord is always Paramatma, is always full in transcendental knowledge. That is the difference between the super soul and the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul, the living entity, is controlled by the laws of nature, while the Paramatma or the super soul is controlled by the material energy. Hare Krishna.
यथा हि अवहितो वह्निर् तारुष्व एक स्वयोनिषु नानेव भाति विश्वात्मा भूतेषु च तथा पुमान्. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Swapna Mataji.
Krishna Prabhuji. Translation. The Lord, as super soul, pervades all things, just as fire permeates wood, and so he appears to be of many varieties. So he is absolute one without a second. Purport. Lord Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by one of his plenary parts, expands himself all over the material world, and his existence can be perceived even within the atomic energy. Matter, antimatter, proton, neutron, etc. are all different effects of the Paramatma feature of the Lord. As from wood, fire can be manifested, or as butter can be churned out of milk, so as to presence of the Lord of Paramatma can be felt by the process of legitimate hearing and chanting of transcendental subjects, which are especially treated in Vedic literatures like the Upanishads and Vedanta. Srimad Bhagavatam is a bona fide explanation of these Vedic literatures. The Lord can be realized through the oral reception of the transcendental message, and that is the only way to experience the transcendental subject. As fire is kindled from the word by another fire, the divine consciousness of man can similarly be kindled by another divine grace. His divine grace, the spiritual master, can kindle the spiritual fire from the wood-like living entity by imparting proper spiritual messages injected through the receptive ear. Therefore, one is required to approach the proper spiritual master with the receptive ears only, and thus divine existence is gradually realized. The difference between animality and humanity lies in this process only. A human being can hear properly, whereas an animal cannot. Hare Krishna.
53. असो गुणमयैर्भावैर्भूतः सूक्ष्मेन्द्रियात्मभिः स्वनिर्मितेषु निर्विष्टो भुङ्क्ते भूतेषु तद्गुणान्. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Sanjay Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Translation. The super soul enters into the bodies of the created beings who are influenced by the modes of material nature and causes them to enjoy the effects of these modes by the subtle mind. Purport. There are 84 lakh species of living beings, beginning from the highest intellectual being, Brahma, down to the insignificant ant, and all of them are enjoying the material world according to the desires of the subtle mind and the gross material body. The gross material body is based on the conditions of the subtle mind.
Hare Krishna.
In obtaining what he desires. He proposes and the Lord disposes. In other sense, the living beings are parts and parcels of the Lord. They are therefore one with the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, the living beings in all varieties of bodies have been claimed by the Lord as his sons. The sufferings and enjoyments of the sons are indirectly the sufferings and enjoyments of the father. Still, the father is not in any way affected directly by the suffering and enjoyment of the sons. He is so kind that he constantly remains with the living being as Paramatma and always tries to convert the living being towards the real happiness. Hare Krishna.
54. भावयति एष सत्त्वेन लोकान् वै लोकभावनः लीलावतारानुरक्तो देवतीर्यन् नारदिषु. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Benala Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Thus the Lord of the universe maintains all planets inhabited by demigods, men and lower animals. Assuming the roles of incarnations, he performs pastimes to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. Purport. There are innumerable material universes, and in each and every universe there are innumerable planets inhabited by different grades of living entities in different modes of nature. The Lord Vishnu incarnates himself in each and every one of them and in each and every type of living society. He manifests his transcendental pastimes among them just to create the desire to go back to Godhead. The Lord does not change his original transcendental position, but he appears to be differently manifested according to the particular time, circumstances, and society. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Yogesh Prabhu.
Sure, Prabhuji. Sometimes he incarnates himself or empowers a suitable living being to act for him, but in either case the purpose is the same. The Lord wants the suffering suffering living beings to go back home, back to Godhead. The happiness which the living beings are hankering for is not to be found within any corner of the innumerable universes and material planets. The eternal happiness which the living beings wants is obtainable in the kingdom of God. But the forgetful living beings under the influence of the material modes have no information of the kingdom of God. The Lord therefore comes to propagate the message of the kingdom of God, either personally as an incarnation or through his bona fide representative as the God, as the good Son of God. Such incarnations or Son of God are not making propaganda for going back to Godhead only within the human society. Their work is also going on in all types of societies amongst demigods and those other than human beings. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports of the first canto, second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Divinity and Divine Services. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol, we have completed second chapter. So we are moving to third chapter. Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Sutam vacha Jagrahe Paurusham Rupam Bhagavan Mahat Adibihi Sambhutam Shodasakalam Ado Loka Sishrukshaya. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Abhishek Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Suta said, in the beginning of the creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. And thus, at first, there was the creation of the 16 principles of material action. This was for the purpose of creating the material universe. Purport. The Bhagavad Gita states that the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna maintains these material universes by extending his plenary expansions. So this Purusha form is the confirmation of the same principle. The original personality of Godhead Vasudeva or Lord Krishna, who is famous as the son of King Vasudeva or King Nanda, is full with all opulences, all potencies, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation. Part of his opulences are manifested as impersonal Brahman, and a part of his opulences are manifested as Paramatma. This Purusha feature of the same personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the original Paramatma manifestation of the Lord. There are three Purusha features in the material creation, and this form, who is known as the Karnodakshayi Vishnu, is the first of the three. The others are known as the Garbhodakshayi Vishnu and Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, which we shall know one after another. The innumerable universes are generated from the skin holes of this Karnodakshayi Vishnu, and each of the universes of the Lord enters as Garbhodakshayi Vishnu.
In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also mentioned that the material world is created at certain intervals and then again destroyed. This creation and destruction is done by the Supreme Will because of the conditioned souls or the Nitya Baddha living beings. The Nitya Baddha or the eternally conditioned souls have the sense of individuality or ahankara, which dictates them sense enjoyment, which they are unable to have constitutionally. The Lord is the only enjoyer and all others are enjoyed. The living beings are predominated enjoyers, but the eternally conditioned souls, forgetful of this constitutional position, have strong aspirations to enjoy. The chance to enjoy matter is given to the conditioned souls in the material world, and side by side, they are given the chance to understand their real constitutional position. Those fortunate living entities who catch the truth and surrender unto the lotus feet of Vasudeva after many, many births in the material world, join the eternally liberated souls and thus are allowed to enter into the kingdom of Godhead. After this, such fortunate living entities need not come again within the occasional material creation. But those who cannot catch the constitutional truth are again merged into the Mahat Tattva at the time of the annihilation of the material creation. When the creation is again set up, this Mahat Tattva is again set loose. This Mahat Tattva contains all the ingredients of the material manifestations including the conditioned souls. Primarily, this Mahat Tattva is divided into 16 parts, namely the 5 gross material elements and the 11 working instruments or senses. It is like the cloud in the clear sky. In the spiritual sky, the effulgence of Brahman is spread all around and the whole system is dazzling in spiritual light. The Mahat Tattva is assembled in some corner of the vast, unlimited spiritual sky, and the part which is thus covered by Mahat Tattva is called the material sky. This part of the spiritual sky called the Mahat Tattva is only an insignificant portion of the whole spiritual sky, and within this Mahat Tattva there are innumerable universes. All these universes are collectively produced by Karanodakshai Vishnu, called also the Mahavishnu, who simply throws his glance to impregnate the material sky. Hare Krishna.
Yashyambasi sayanasya yoga nidram pitanmata navi hridambuja ashir Brahma Vishwasajam Pati. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna Pushkala.
Hare Krishna. A part of the Purusha lies down within the water of the universe. From the navel lake of his body sprouts a lotus stem, and from the lotus flower atop this stem, Brahma, the master of all engineers in the universe, becomes manifest. Purport. The first Purusha is the Karnadaksha Vishnu. From his skin, whole innumerable universes have sprung up. In each and every universe, the Purusha enters as the Garbhodaksha Vishnu. He is lying within the half of the universe, which is full with the water of his body. And from the navel of Garbhodaksha Vishnu has sprung the stem of the lotus flower, the birthplace of Brahma, who is the father of all living beings and the master of all the demigod engineers engaged in the perfect design and working of the universal order. Within the stem of the lotus, there are 14 divisions of planetary systems. The earthly planets are situated in the middle. Upwards, there are other better planetary systems, and the topmost system is called Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. Downwards from the earthly planetary system, there are 7 lower planetary systems inhabited by the Asuras and similar other materialistic living beings. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Lovish Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. From Garbhodakshai Vishnu, there is expansion of the Shirodakshai Vishnu, who is the collective Paramatma of all living beings. He is called Hari, and from him all incarnations within the universe are expanded. Therefore, the conclusion is that the Purusha Avtara is manifested in 3 features. First, the Karanodakshai, who creates and aggregate material ingredients in the Mahat Tattva. Second, the Garbhodakshai Vishnu, who enters in each and every universe. And third is Shirodakshai Vishnu, who is the Paramatma of every material object, organic or inorganic. One who knows these plenary features of the personality of Godhead knows Godhead properly. And thus the knower becomes freed from the material conditions of birth, death, old age and disease. And it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. In this shloka, the subject matter of Mahavishnu is summarized. The Mahavishnu lies down in some part of spiritual sky by his own free will. Thus, he lies on the ocean of Karana, from where he glances over his material nature, and the Mahat Tattva is at once created. Thus, electrified by the power of the Lord, the material nature at once creates innumerable universes, just as in due course a tree decorates itself with innumerable grown fruits. The seed of the tree is sown by the cultivator, and the tree or creeper is in due course become manifested with so many fruits. Nothing can take place without a cause. The Karana ocean is therefore called the casual ocean. Karana means casual. We should not foolishly accept the atheistic theory of creation. The description of the atheist is given in the Bhagavad Gita. The atheist does not believe in the creator, but he cannot give a good theory to explain the creation. Material nature has no power to create without the power of the Purusha. Just as a Prakriti or woman cannot produce a child without the connection of a Purusha or man. The Purusha impregnates and the Prakriti delivers. We should not expect milk from the fleshy bags on the neck of a goat. although they look like breast nipples. Similarly, we should not expect any creative power from the material ingredients. We must believe in the power of the Purusha who impregnates Prakriti or nature because the Lord wished to lie down in meditation. The material energy created innumerable universes at once. In each of them, the Lord lay down, and thus all the planets and the different paraphernalia were created at once by the will of the Lord. The Lord has unlimited potencies, and thus he can act as he likes by the perfect planning, although personally he has nothing to do. No one is greater than or equal to him. That is the verdict of the Vedas. Hare Krishna.
यस्यावयव समस्तिन्ना कल्पितो लोकविस्तर तद्वै भगवतो रूपं विशुद्धसत्त्वम् ऊर्जितम्. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Shri Ganesh Prabhu.
It is believed that all the universal planetary systems are situated on the extensive body of the Purusha, but he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is externally in spiritual existence par excellence. Purport. The conception of the Virata Rupa or Vishwarupa of the Supreme Absolute Truth is especially meant for the neophyte who can hardly think of the transcendental form of the personality of Godhead. To him, a form means something of this material world, and therefore an opposite conception of the Absolute is necessary in the beginning to concentrate the mind on the power extension of the Lord. As stated above, the Lord extends his potential in the form of Tattva, which includes all material ingredients. The extension of power by Lord and the Lord himself personally are one in one sense. But at the same time, the Mahat Tattva is different from the Lord. Therefore, the potency of the Lord and the Lord are simultaneously different and non-different. The conception of the Virata Rupa, especially for the impersonalist, is thus non-different from the eternal form of the Lord. The eternal form of the Lord exists prior to the creation of the Mahat Tattva, and it is stressed here that the eternal form of the Lord is par excellence spiritual or transcendental to the modes of material nature. The very same transcendental form of Lord is manifested by his internal potency, the formation of his multifarious manifestations of incarnations. It is always of the same transcendental quality without any touch of Mahat Tattva. Hare Krishna.
3.4 पश्यन्ति अधो रूपम् अध्वरचक्षुषा सहस्रपादरो भुजनान्नभूद्रुपदम् सहस्रमूर्धश्रवणाक्षिस्नासिकम् सहस्रमौलिसम्बरकुण्डलोल्लसम्. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Anita Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. The devotees. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I'm in traveling. I'm
Okay,
not
okay.
able.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Gyanermayi Mataji.
Sure, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. The devotees with their perfect eyes see the transcendental form of the Purusha who has thousands of legs, thighs, arms, and faces, all extraordinary. In that body, there are thousands of heads, ears, eyes, and noses. They are decorated with thousands of helmets and glowing earrings and are adorned with garlands. Purport. With our present materialized senses, we cannot perceive anything of the transcendental Lord. Our present senses are to be rectified by the process of devotional service, and then the Lord himself becomes revealed to us. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that the transcendental Lord can be perceived only by pure devotional service. So it is confirmed in the Vedas that only devotional service can lead one to the side of the Lord, and that only devotional service can reveal him. In the Brahma Samhita also, it is said that the Lord is always visible to the devotees whose eyes have been anointed with the tinge of devotional service. So we have to take the information of the transcendental form of the Lord from persons who have actually seen him with perfect eyes smeared with devotional service. In the material world, also, we do not always see things with our own eyes. We sometimes see through the experience of those who have actually seen or done things. If that is the process for experiencing a mundane object, it is more perfectly applicable in matters transcendental. So, only with patience and perseverance can we realize the transcendental subject matter regarding the absolute truth and its different forms. He is formless to the neophytes, but he is in transcendental form to the expert servitor.
Fifth shloka. एतान्नानावताराणां निदानं बीजम् अव्ययम् यस्यामसेन सृजयन्ते देवतीर्यन्नारदया. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Swapna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. This form, the second manifestation of the Purusha, is the source of destructible seed of the multifarious incarnations within the universe. From the particles and the portions of this form, different living entities like demigods, men, and others are created. Purport. The Purusha, after creating the innumerable universes in the Mahatattva, entered in each of them as second Purusha. Garbhodakasai Vishnu. When he saw that within the universe there was only darkness and space without a resting place, he filled half of the universe with water from his own perspiration and laid himself down on the same water. This water is called Garbhodaka. Then from his navel, stem of lotus flower sprouted, and on flower petal, the birth of Brahma, or the master engineer of the universal plan, took place. Brahma became the engineer of the universe, and the Lord himself took charge of the maintenance of the universe as Vishnu. Brahma was generated from the Rajoguna of Prakriti, or the mode of passion in nature, and Vishnu became the Lord of mode of goodness. Vishnu, being transcendental to all the modes, is always aloof from the materialistic affection. This has already been explained. From Brahma, there is Rudra, Shiva, who is in charge of mode of ignorance or darkness. He destroys the whole creation by the will of the Lord. Therefore, all three, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, are incarnations of Garbhodaka Sa Vishnu. From Brahma, the other demigods like Daksha, Marichi, Manu, and many others become incarnated to generate living entities within the universe. The Garbhodakasai Vishnu is glorified in the Vedas in the hymns of Garbhastuti, which entities within
Begin with the description.
Begin with the description of Lord as having thousands of heads, etc. Garbhodakasai Vishnu is the Lord of universe, and although he appears to be lying within the universe, he is always transcendental. This also has already been explained. The Vishnu, who is the plenary portion of Garbhodakasai Vishnu, is the super soul of the universal life, and he is known as the maintainer of the
Universe.
universe.
Or Kshirodakshai.
Yeah, Kshirodakasai Vishnu. So the three features of the original Purusha are thus understood, and all the incarnations within the universe are emanations from the Kshirodakasai Vishnu. In different millennia,
Hare Krishna Mataji.
yeah.
Hare Krishna Sanjay Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. In different millennia, there are different incarnations, and they are innumerable, although some of them are very prominent, such as Matsya, Kurma, Vara, Rama, Narasimha, Vamana, and many others. These incarnations are called Leela incarnations. Then there are qualitative incarnations such as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva or Rudra, who take charge of the different modes of material nature. Lord Vishnu is non-different from personality of Godhead. Lord Shiva is in the marginal position between the personality of Godhead and the living entities or jivas. Brahma is always a jiva tattva. The highest pious living being or the greatest devotee of the Lord is empowered with the potency of the Lord for creation, and he is called Brahma. His power is like the power of the sun reflected in valuable stones and jewels. When there is no living being to take charge of the post of Brahma, the Lord himself becomes a Brahma and takes charge of the post. Lord Shiva.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Manila Mataji. Hare Krishna, Manila Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living being. He is the plenary portion of the Lord, but because Lord Shiva is in direct touch with material nature, he is not exactly the same in the same transcendental position as Lord Vishnu. The difference is like that between milk and curd. Curd is nothing but milk, and yet it cannot be used in place of milk. The next incarnations are the Manus. Within one day's duration of life of Brahma, which is calculated by our solar year as 4,030,000 into 1,000 years, there are 14 Manus. Therefore, there are 420 Manus in 1 month of Brahma and 5,040 Manus in 1 year of Brahma. Brahma lives for 100 years of his age, and therefore there are 5,040 into 100 or 5,04,000 Manus in duration of Brahma's life. There are innumerable universes with one Brahma in each of them, and all of them are created and annihilated during the breathing time of the Purusha. Therefore, one can simply imagine how many millions of Manus there are during one breath of the Purusha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Yogesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Prabhu, the screen is fixated on that line. Yeah. The Manu who are prominent within this universe are as follows: Yagna as Swayambhu Manu, Vibhu as Sarojisa Manu, Satyasena as Uttama Manu, Hari as Tamasa Manu, Vaikuntha as Raivata Manu, Ajita as Chakshusa Manu, Vamana as Vaivasvata Manu. The present age is under the Vaivasvata Manu. Sarvabhauma as Savarni Manu, Rashba as Daksha Swarni Manu, Vishwaksena as Brahma Savarni Manu, Dharma Setu as Dharma Sarvani Manu, Sudama as Rudra Swarni Manu, Yogeshwara as Dev Swarni Manu, and Bradbanu as Indra Swarni Manu. These are the names of one set of 14 Manus covering 43 billion solar years as described above. Then there are Yugavatars, or the incarnation of the millennia. The Yugas are known as Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. The incarnations of each Yuga are of different color. The colors are white, red, black, and yellow. In the Dwapar Yuga, Lord Krishna in black color appeared, and in the Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya in yellow color appeared. So all the incarnations. Hare Krishna.
Abhishek Prabhu and Sasya Mataji, you can continue. Hare
Krishna. So all the incarnations of the Lord are mentioned in the revealed scriptures. There is no scope for an impostor to become an incarnation. for an incarnation must be mentioned in the Shastras. An incarnation does not declare himself to be an incarnation of the Lord, but great sages agree by the symptoms mentioned in the revealed scriptures. The features of the incarnation and the particular type of mission which he has to execute are mentioned in the revealed scriptures.
Apart from the direct incarnations, there are innumerable empowered incarnations. They are also mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Such incarnations are directly as well as indirectly empowered. When they are directly empowered, they are called incarnations, but when they are indirectly empowered, they are called vibhutis. Directly empowered incarnations are the Kumaras, Narada, Prithu, Sesha, Ananta, etc. As far as vibhutis are concerned, they are very explicitly described in the Bhagavad Gita in the Vibhuti Yoga chapter. And for all these different types of incarnations, the fountainhead is the Garbhodhakshay Vishnu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Today we have seen the various incarnations of Krishna, the various incarnations especially, and among that the most important point which I could collect is Prabhupada says one should understand this knowledge by serving the spiritual master. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya upadakshenti jnanam jnanina statudarshana. So only the one who sees can impart us the knowledge. So we have to do only devotional service helps us understand all this in all the what we are reading. Srimad Bhagavatam. Otherwise, it goes on like a ritualistic reading. So one should understand the service. The main principal service is to chant the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Great. We'll meet again.
Hare Krishna.